Yo, Black, it's time. Word, it's time.
What is going down, world? Welcome to the 40s. I go by the name Black Pegasus. And today we are checking out NAS's critically acclaimed NY State of Mind. Yeah, this is going to be special. Now, I've heard this song before. This is not a first-time reaction. But man, how this helped influence and cultivate the landscape of rap music is pretty incredible in my opinion. You know, I think Nas gets his just dues. Illmatic, the album this song is from, is considered hip-hop gold, a hip-hop classic. And I didn't miss this record. I'm going to tell you how it went down. It released in 1994. I was 14 years old. And I just missed the excitement wave of like being like, yo, I just bought Illmatic, son, blah, blah. Like that didn't happen to me. Like I listened to It Was Written first. That's what I heard from Nas, his second album, and then I went back. And so, you know, my experience and relationship with Illmatic is going to be a little different than some of the purists who like really got to feel that moment in time in that particular way. But I want to take some time to highlight that. And that's off of the heels that Nas and DJ Premier just dropped a new album together, right? And this track, one of his most iconic tracks from the album, which there are many iconic tracks on this album. That's why it's a classic from start to finish. And we'll talk about that in the reaction. But this song was produced by DJ Premier. So we're going to get into it. Anyways, if you guys are here for it, like, share, comment, subscribe, and welcome back to the channel.
They tease him a lot, black peas on the spot. Welcome back, 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 welcome back. 40.
All right, let me get this logo down and pull the video up. Don't forget to support the original content on the channel. If you want to check out my other channel, Pegasus vs. the World, over there it's kind of experimental. I've been doing movie reactions, but I do commentary and vlogging over there too. So rock with me. If not, no big deal. Just thank you for your support over here. This is where we do all the music and the music reactions. If you want access to these reactions early, there's always a link in the description. Gives you early access. I try to update it every single day. There's a big catalog of reactions that haven't been released, so you can have some fun in there. Regardless, thank you guys for your support. Huge shout out to all the members on the channel. Let's get this show on the road. Now, I would love for you guys to go check out this music on Nas's official YouTube channel. That's where I'm listening to it. Or stream it, purchase it, all that good stuff. Look, what I'm doing is not a substitute for the original. I'm not redistributing the music. I'm going to hit pause. We're going to talk about it, break it down, have some commentary here. But it is important to support the original content creator always. So I always want to give them the plug before we get into this. Anyways, let's do this, man. So we're going into, this is from a classic hip-hop album, if you didn't know, because some people on my channel, I have a wide-ranging audience, and some people have opened their mind to checking out new things because I came into this space with curiosity and an open mind to all music. So I pretty much check out everything here, but my roots is hip-hop. People know I'm a rapper. I've toured. I've done a bunch of things in my space. And yeah, I wanted to just highlight, this is from a classic album, Illmatic, Nas's debut album before he did a demo, I believe, with a Large Professor. Large Professor was like his mentor. And this album was produced, I think there was 5 producers on it. It's Large Professor, DJ Premier, Q-Tip. Who am I missing? Oh my gosh, bro. Pete Rock. And then LES did the joint with AZ. Life's a bleh. So anyways, we're diving into classic hip-hop material. So let's get into this. This is NY State of Mind by Nas. Here we go.
Yeah. Hey, yo, Black, it's time. Word, it's time. It's time, man. All right, begin. Yeah, straight out the fucking dungeons of rap, where fake niggas don't make it back. I don't know how to start this. Yo. Yeah. Rap was a monkey flipping with the funky rhythm I be kicking. Musician, inflicting composition of pain. I'm like Scarface, sniffing cocaine, holding an M16. See with the pen I'm extreme. Now, bullet holes left in my peak holes. I'm suited up with street clothes. Hand me a 9 and out the feet foes. Y'all know my stilo, with or without the airplay. I keep some E and J, sitting bent up in the stairway, or either on the corner betting grants with the CeeLo champs, laughing at bass heads, trying to sell some broken amps. G-Packs get off quick forever, niggas talk shit, reminiscing about the last time the task force flipped. Niggas be running through the block shooting. Time to start the revolution, catch a body head for Houston. Once they caught us off guard, the Mac 10 was in the grass, and I ran like a cheetah with thoughts of an assassin. Picked the Mac up, told brothers back up. The Mac spit, lead was hitting niggas, one ran. I made a backflip, heard a few chicks scream. My arm shook, couldn't look, gave another squeeze, heard it click. Yo, my shit is stuck, tried to cock it, it wouldn't shoot. Now I'm in danger. Finally pulled it back and saw 3 bullets caught up in the chamber. So now I'm jetting to the building lobby, and it was full of children, probably couldn't see as high as I be. It's like the game ain't the same. Got younger niggas pulling the triggers, bringing fame to their name and claim some corners. Crews without guns upon us. In broad daylight, stick up kids, they run up on us. 4-5s and gauges, max and facts. Same niggas that catch you back to back, snatching your cracks in black. Yo, is a snitch on the block, getting niggas knocked. So hold your stash till the coke price drop. I know this crackhead who said she gotta smoke nice rock. And if it's
All right. Oh, man, there's just so much here. First and foremost, I think one of the most important things to know about this track is I believe it was recorded. NAS recorded this verse when he was 19 or 20 years old. And he was already super street smart and intellectual, right? Now, some people will get lost here. Like if you're not from the culture, you might get lost. You know, you're hearing about, you know, guns and street life. But Nas is legit a street poet, a street lyricist. And he's painting a picture of the New York environment from his vision, right? This is a time capsule. So if you close your eyes and just think about everything he's saying, you're living within a movie, right? Like he's painting one of the best pictures of the New York street environment that he was involved in. Now, I think one of the fascinating things about this song was this is true counterculture. There's no hook in this song. He just rips for the whole song. And I think it's also like a example or a personification of like the New York environment, how it just always goes. It's just continuous. You know, like my dad's from Harlem, and I remember we went back to Harlem to move my grandmother to California. And I just remember, like, I didn't live in New York, but my experiences in New York, there's a different mentality, a different hustle, a different movement, a different energy. It's very fast-paced. It could get hostile sometimes. Like, it's like, hey, yo, B, hey, it's loud. And I feel that with the way this is being presented. You know, this is timeless, and he also speaks in a language that not everyone's going to be able to understand. And I think people from the outside looking into the culture kind of might get scared of the lingo and the language, like, ooh, and some people it brings them in, it draws them in, like, what's this? I've never experienced this. But there's so many different things going on. The other thing is his wordplay and patterns. Like, he was really ahead of the curve when it comes to this specific style and really influenced a lot of people in the way they rap. Nas is that guy. Nas is that guy. And this is that track. If you're here with me, we rocking, man. We're gonna keep going. Let's go. But I wanted to talk about, like, think about that. Just think about a 19-year-old going into the studio and lacing this type of verse. And it actually correcting it's so inspiring and influential. You know, again, I was 14 when stuff like this and the way it influenced me, even my name, Black Pegasus. This is why I'm not Little Rob or Little Homie or whatever, because these artists like Nas and Wu-Tang were giving me intellectual, you know, gems, street gems, but it was mixed with poetry and vocabulary, things that I just You know, I was not good in school. Like, I always trip out on how much these brothers, like, if you really break down these verses that Nas, Inspector Deck from Wu-Tang, Big Pun, their vocabulary was extraordinary. And from a kid who hated school, it made me dive into books because I wanted to keep up with what they were doing when I started writing rhymes. Anyways, we're rocking with Nas, Illmatic. Let's go. This is NY State of Mind.
Snatching your cracks in black. Yo, is a snitch on the block, getting niggas knocked. So hold your stash till the coke price drop. I know this crackhead who said she gotta smoke nice rock. And if it's good, you bring your customers and measuring plots. But yo, you gotta slide on a vacation. Inside information keeps large niggas erasing and they wild spacing. It drops deep as it does in my breath. I never sleep, cause sleep is the cousin of death. Beyond the walls of
That right there is one of the most infamous lines ever. I don't sleep because sleep is the cousin of death. Let's hear it one more time and talk about it.
inside information keeps large niggas erasing and they wild spacing. It drops deep as it does in my breath. I never sleep, cause sleep is the cousin of death.
I read something where it was said that he didn't even write this as a punchline. This was the mentality of being in the streets, Queensbridge to be exact. This was his mentality. He just put that in there. That wasn't, from what I read, I could be wrong. Y'all correct me, but it wasn't positioned like, yo, this is a punchline. Nah, this is just how he was living, and that's why it hits so hard. Again, visualize this from a teenager in the streets of New York at that time and the things he's seeing, right? And then we start, if we wanted to do a crazy deep dive, like, why are we seeing this, right? You know, are we going back to Reaganomics and, you know, why crack was in the hood specifically, you know, COINTELPRO? It's like, bro, these MFers literally, it's kind of wild when you think about guns and crack just being delivered to the hood. And then people, you know, say some wild stuff in today's age about that. They're like, well, you make personal choices and da-da-da-da, and don't want to assess the influence of certain things happening in the ghettos, right? So I'm pretty cognitive of that and aware of that. And I don't know, there's something special here. There's a griminess, there's a rawness, and there's authenticity to this song specifically that is, it's something else.
Out on a vacation, inside information keeps large niggas erasing and they wild spacing. It drops deep as it does in my breath. I never sleep, cause sleep is the cousin of death. Beyond the walls of intelligence, life is defined. I think of crime when I'm in a New York state of mind. State of mind. Your state of mind. Your state of mind. Your state of mind. Your state of mind. Be having dreams that I'm a gangster. Drinking Moet's, holding texts, making sure the cash came correct. Then I step investments in stock, sewing up the blocks to sell rocks, winning gunfights with mega cops, but just a nigga walking with his finger on the trigger. Make enough figures until my pockets get bigger. I ain't the type of brother made for you to start testing. Give me a Smith and Wesson, I have niggas undressing. Thinking of cash flow, Buddha and shelter. Whenever frustrated, I'm a hijack Delta and the PJs. My blend tape plays, bullets are strays. Young bitches is braids. Each block is like a maze full of black rats trapped. Plus the Allen is packed. From what I hear in all the stories, when my peoples come back black, I'm living where the nights is jet black. The fiends fight to get crack. I just max. I dream I could sit back and lamp like Capone with drug strips on. All the legal luxury life rings flooded with stones. Homes. I got so many rhymes, I don't think I'm too sane. Life is parallel to hell, but I must maintain it be prosperous. Though we live dangerous, cops could just arrest me, blaming us we're held like hostages.
Bro, the wordplay, man, there's just so much going on in this track. The one thing I wanted to highlight is these concepts that keep reoccurring that are showing you a story of where he's from, but also where he went. Right? Like, this is him at 19 years old, 20 years old, seeing all these things in the street, all these different experiences within the street. He wrote it down in a poetic form, made a song, and he got out of the streets. Right? And when you listen to this brother speak, that's the one thing I always loved about Nas and Wu-Tang Clan specifically, is they were poets. They were street poets. That's what they are. They're talking about their environment. To deny that because of your ignorance or whatever it may be, you know, people get in these weird pockets in today's day and not see the art here is crazy to me, because we all come from different environments and saw different things. But anyways, the thing that I loved about Wu-Tang Clan and Nas specifically was they always sprinkled some black consciousness in it and intellect. And if you really dive into their music, it's there. And for kids who are growing up seeing certain things and being around certain environments, this was helpful, right? Anyways, the wordplay right here, like, hold on.
Too sane, life is parallel to hell, but I must maintain it be prosperous. Though we live dangerous, cops could just arrest.
The way he rhymed prosperous and cops can just, and then goes into
That's me blaming us, we're held like hostages.
Hostages. It's just, man, he was just extracurricular with it, you guys. I don't know. I mean, the real heads know the impact Nas had, you know, but his impact and the ripple effect of his writing style, in my opinion, changed the landscape of the way people approach music in the rap space. Also, when you listen to that, like I was like, there's no hook. That's just that purest hip hop. Like you have scratching or something, like that is like saying, hey, I don't care about radio play. This isn't about radio play. And that's a unique fact about this album. When this album came out the gates, it wasn't like stunting like a lot of these hip hop records. Like this was a slow build. This was a word of mouth. This is, you know, that chef, that hole in the wall, a restaurant that has the greatest food in your city. All these other restaurants get the accolades because they have the money, they have the clout. But that one restaurant that boo-boos on every restaurant in the city because it just got that real chef that's just like in there with the realest ingredients, knows what he's doing. It's been handed down from his family, and he just has that in him. That's what this is. It was a slow build in comparison to people who just came out the gates and like, you know, I'm platinum, blah, blah, blah. And so I think there's something to that as well. But this is like a true demonstration of like the art and street poetry. You know, I know some people get scared of the streets because they've never experienced the violence, the drugs, the this, the that, and the other. They haven't witnessed that, and it's just a movie to them. But for people who lived in that environment and seen it firsthand, this speaks volumes to them. You know what I'm saying? And this is why I also see these crazy parallels to rap music and outlaw country, because these outlaw country artists like, you know, Johnny Cash and let's say Waylon Jennings, you know, they're speaking about breaking the law, being outlaws, being in the, you know, obvious their environment might be a little more slow because it's a little more rural. But like one of the classic lines from Johnny Cash, I believe it's I shot a man down just to watch him die or something like that. It's not verbatim, but it's like these are gangster lines. And I don't know, there's a parallel there that people don't want to acknowledge, especially from the country space, right? Sometimes they'll, you know, be disparaging to rap. And me just being curious about music, listening to country on this channel, I'm like, oh, there's crazy parallels. And I always notice that. It seems like people that have the most in common sometimes will have the most conflict until they realize how much they have in common. It's really unique. But let's rock. We're listening to Nas, Illmatic. NY State of Mind from the Illmatic album.
It's only right that I was born to use mics, and the stuff that I write is even tougher than dice. I'm taking rappers to a new plateau through rap slow. My rhyming is a vitamin, hell without a capsule. The smooth criminal on beat breaks. Never put me in your box if your shit eats tape. The city never sleeps, full of villains and creeps. That's where I learned to do my hustle, had to scuffle with freaks. I'm an addict for sneakers, 20s a Buddha and bitches with beepers. In the streets I could greet ya, about blunts I teach ya. Inhale deep like the words in my breath. I never sleep, cause sleep is the cousin of death. I lay puzzle as I backtrack to earlier times. Nothing's equivalent to the New York state of mind. State of mind. Your state of mind. Your state of mind. Your state of mind. Your state of mind.
Isn't it crazy the difference between NAS, NY State of Mind, versus Billy Joel, New York State of Mind? Isn't that kind of incredible? It's crazy. You know, I think Nas is eligible to be inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And there's no question in my mind that he won't be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So get ready for that. I could be tripping, but I'm almost positive. There's no way he doesn't get in there. I highlighted Tribe, Called Quest on the channel, and they're you know, and even Outkast. But yeah, Nas is probably going to be in there. Man, there is something about the storytelling that brings you to the rugged streets of New York at that time that is just infallible, just perfection. Like, I just, you know, I mean, he mentioned everything. I don't think he said roaches in there, I forget, but, you know, everything, the black rats, like, it's just like, dog, what was he on to write this at 19? And that's when I got my spark. And you know, like, I started you know, I freestyled a little bit, you know, 13, 14, but I didn't know what the hell was going on. Everything was emulation. I'm so close to the West Coast, being in Colorado. I had a lot of early influence from the West Coast, and then, but I'm heavily influenced by East Coast. Wu-Tang, like, took me by storm. Pause. But anyway, we rocking, man. I'm trying to think of what else should be mentioned, because this is just like, I'm literally re-listening to greatness, and I want to make sure, you know, I know Large Professor had a huge part of this album, but as everyone involved, like, this is history. This is history, and definitely, in my opinion, changed the landscape of hip-hop. A lot of samples came from this album. It's kind of wild, man. Just need a minute to soak in it. You know what I'm saying? But this is what's super dope. I'm listening to this in the year 2025, and Nas and DJ Premier just dropped a new album. Incredible stuff. Incredible stuff. Anyways, I just wanted to take you guys to something that's special to hip-hop heads and special to me. And, you know, it's interesting trying to explain to this very wide audience, because I have realized, as many people who have been exposed to hip-hop, sometimes I feel like they've been exposed in the wrong way. You know, I don't think a lot of today's music or hip-hop is a great representation of it. Also, instead of people going back to the classics and the history, they'll go to stuff that looks like them, because now, fast forward, hip-hop has been packaged to look like you, right? And I just think that's interesting. And I think to get the true feeling and identity of rap and hip-hop, you got to go back. And you really got to kind of understand, you know, the inception of a lot of that stuff. But, hey, man, I'm going to get off my soapbox. This was great. Glad I'm able to put this on the channel. I hope some of you guys are open-minded enough to come through and, you know, check this reaction out. Again, if you're here listening to me talk at this point, you're a part of the 15 to 20%, because not many people make it to the end. Thank you for being a real one. Anyways, I'll catch you guys on the next one.
Thank you for being some man. 40 years down the road, back again. FUQ boy.